All right, how are we doing? Reflections and for one, celestial rising, divine afternoon, and successful night. So I'm Mirage just watching this divine message, and it's your divine reflection, divine messenger, and we are back with another observation. And today we just wanted to react to this perspective on these people. I just wanted I was just watching a little bit, just seeing what they were talking about, and I really found this interesting because I want to know your thoughts as well. And anybody who's a Christian, I really want to see if you're going to be honest with what you think God has in store for the people that the being never designed or created. But I want to see if your lives are going to place a expectation for somebody to get lost in. Because a lot of times Christians will want somebody else outside themselves to get lost in their ways to where they can feel better than because they were able to manipulate somebody into following the practices for Satanism. Once they practice those acts, that's when they'll follow suit and follow through with the intention that they were going to do as far as talking to this person and bringing them in towards Christianity or Luciferianism or any other religion as well. But when these people do that, it's a certain way of how they think and how they talk and how they speak. So if you enjoy these and you want to get more in tune with different videos, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more divine messages. And let me make sure we're good. All right, let's get into it. See what they got to say real quick. See what they got to say. What y'all got for us, man?
What if you could speak your mind without fear of judgment? We
Okay.
brought together seven strangers, protected their identities, and created a space for them to be completely honest. What will be revealed when they take the mask off? There is something wrong.
Women who get abortions or murdered. I have had sex outside marriage. Anyone who isn't Christian is going to hell. I'm scared of dying. I fear losing my non-believer friends and family. I like these. Okay, let's see what we got.
LGBT people.
There's something wrong with LGBTQ people. I'm gonna agree. But I'm going to agree only because it's something wrong with what went wrong with how it got them to that point. But there's really nothing wrong with them, but it's something wrong with their program that they aren't able to learn from, that they aren't able to deal with. Now, there's not anything wrong with all of them, but just in general, for one, there's something wrong with everybody, not just this group. But anybody who is, and it doesn't matter too, but if you are in this, yeah, there's something wrong with you. But even if you're a Christian, something wrong with you. Even if you're spiritual, something wrong with you. So just because you're in this, it doesn't mean that, you're the oddball or you're just the one that's just abnormal from the group and people don't want to fuck with you. No. You just have things going on in your mind that many of us are not able to relate to. That's exactly why we have to understand this genetic inversion that has been placed upon society. So where these types of acts from people who have been humiliated, who have been abused, who have been neglected, who have been abandoned, who have been molested, all these different things, they can get talked about, they can have their story heard. So where the people who are behind these actions with negative intentions that have been done upon them, those projections stop happening to society so where now people don't have to run towards Satanism with open arms.
I'm gonna say a strong no. Yes, I believe that homosexuality is a sin, but saying that like LGBTQ plus or people, there's something wrong with them as people, as human beings. That's a harsh statement.
Mhm.
So it's a hard topic.
This is a really sensitive topic because
If they had the third option, I would be in between because I just would say there's nothing wrong with it being spiritually, but physically, yeah, there's something wrong with this person. There's something wrong with a straight person, something wrong with, well, that's really about it. But yeah, there's something wrong with a straight person, there's something wrong with a gay, lesbian, doesn't really matter. But yeah, there's something wrong with everybody, not just them.
I know that a lot of LGBTQ people have been hurt by the church. They've been hurt by Christians. I personally have family members who identify as they, who are homosexual. While God hates sin, he loves the
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. why are we using God as a scapegoat? God does not hate sin. And the thing is, we design the hate for sin and we keep blaming it on God. God does not hate or love anything, and therefore sin would never be in a form of love that we think is sinning in love. Because once you leave what sin can never love or what sin can never learn about within itself, that's when you tell yourself nothing against me is really against my nature because everything I'm doing is what I want to follow as far as my nature because that was your default program. And that's the function that the mind will keep on following once you put your ways in autopilot so the nature will now guide you into what it was going to do as far as its destination for the predestined script that it was going to be orchestrated into acting in. But once you're working through the spirit, you understand that sin cannot sin against itself, and sin is basically pointless to even become alive in and even die in. So there is no point of a creator coming down to the simulation to sacrifice itself to forgive us for our sins because the moment that is being did that, that was a sin. And the thing is, too, why would you come down to this realm right here to prove a point that still is a fallacy? So you lie. Not only just that, you cause other people to gossip about what never existed. And then you put yourself before God because God can die. And then that story right there basically shows that people put Jesus Christ before God. So people are already worshiping Satan as is. And it says in the first commandment, don't have other gods before me, but yet you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So that's exactly why religion does not make any fucking sense because God does not love people and for one does not hate sin. If you hated sin, this world would not have anybody sitting against themselves. There would be no killing, there would be no gossiping, there would be no negativity, there would be no eating dead flesh, there will be no dissension in our consciousness. We will always ascend into a higher realm. But what's the point of that lifestyle if we're not going to be able to learn a lesson that we place ourselves into playing in?
People, and he loves the homosexual, and he loves the transgender because he died for them. But
God never died for anybody. You can't kill infinity. So God would never want to kill itself for a straight man or woman, gay, lesbian, transgender. God's not going to kill itself nor die for anything in this world. It wouldn't make sense to itself. And God would never even experience what death is because it would just laugh at what death thought it could die in. And the whole entire time, death would have to ask itself, how can I die if I'm living to tell myself a story about how I thought I died?
problem that I do see with LGBTQ people is that the lifestyle, it does take away a lot of things. They're depressed, they're lonely all the time, and that's not the life that God called for you. When you receive Christ, the Spirit of God can deliver you from homosexuality. Yeah.
That's not true because I know there's a lot of people in this world who still are, for example, they're still infatuated with WNBA players, they're still infatuated with women celebrities or whatever. So you can't sit here and say the Spirit of God can deliver you from homosexuality when majority of society is worshiping themselves in a grown woman's body. So it's like, because even when this person mentioned they're depressed, they're lonely all the time. How do you know that? You can't just box all of them in when they haven't even spoke up for themselves. So that has to be a self-projection because there are many people in that community who are thriving. They're happy. They're ecstatic about the life that they chose. And people caring about them, it makes them fulfilled even more to where they don't experience being lonely and they don't really experience depression. They may, but who really knows? We can't speak for all of them.
They're lonely all the time, and that's not the life that God called for
And
you.
the thing is, too, the life that God called for us, nobody's going to pick up the phone because what are you calling for? You wouldn't be speaking and saying, "Hey, I called you to live this life." That wouldn't be free will to some people's terminology. That wouldn't be free will. So, what kind of God is that if God's not giving you the ammo or even just the appreciation of freedom to go and do what you want by having that choice? So, if you have a choice to have this life, why would God call it another life for you to live in when that was not your calling? So you can't sit here and expect people to have their spirit delivered from homosexuality because if that's what they'll practice, that's on them. Yeah, to us, it's weird and it's just like, we don't really care for that, but other people do. And we can't sit here and place them in the back burner of life when society has already fucked up their whole entire world into what they really believe for today.
When you receive Christ, the Spirit of God can deliver you from homosexuality. And I've seen it happen. People who identify as bisexual or homosexual, and God delivers them, and they no longer choose to identify that way. One thing, the Lord says that if you have sinned against one law, you have broken all the laws. And so
you just broke a law because you're gossiping about other people. I mean, this is what the question is saying. You already, for one, you said the Lord, so you really just broke two commandments.
every single human being is wrong. Like, if you ask that question, the homosexual is wrong. Well, sure, but are they a different type of wrong? No, they're not a different type of wrong. They are the same wrong as I am.
I feel like we tend to magnify the LGBTQ community. For example, I come from a Hispanic household and sexual abuse is brushed under the rug so many times.
Straight.
But you choose to magnify, let's say, my gay cousin over my molester uncle. You know what I mean? It's not, there's something wrong with both.
And the question is then, why do we magnify the sin of homosexuality? It's because no one goes around saying murdering is okay, that theft is okay. But there are people going around saying, well, love is love and homosexuality is just love. And they're trying to justify it. And so the church has to do some sort of defense. And that's why this sin gets more attention than the others.
Yeah.
And so they can escape their shame, not by marching down a street shouting pride, embrace who you are, look within. They can escape their shame by casting it on Christ and receiving his forgiveness.
Thank you. Thank you. Literally. And you can blame it on the church, you can blame it on whatever, but literally, this is put on accountability. Many of these people know that this type of love is false. That's an illusion because you should not be touching on people who are vulnerable, people who are young, people who just never gave you consent to touch their body. Stuff like that can be forgiven by somebody else, but for us who have members, family members, friends, peers who have experienced that, you know what type of timing that really becomes onto the person and what type of time you have to witness when you're around it. Because a lot of these people, they still have that memory stuck in the back of their head. And somebody really believes as if what they did was love. And that to me is just that's such a distorted way to experience what you went through and call it love. And that's why people are so ashamed of expressing that side of them, which is why they run to the church. They go and pray about it, and they have to blame it on something. So they blame Christ. It's crazy that you go to this deity for advice or for saving. You're praying to be forgiven, but you still do the same hypocrisy that you want to be forgiven for, not knowing that your forgiveness has to come with you going within and understand that what you're doing is wrong. It may not be wrong to you, but it is wrong in the moral sense of things. So, in a subjective or an objective, whatever you want to classify this as, you know that objectively that is wrong. Subject, and you can say on a subjective aspect too, that's still wrong as fuck. Like, you should not be doing that. But some people will sit there and try to go against what you're like, refute what you're telling them. How are you going against touching kids? You know you shouldn't be doing that. You know you shouldn't be talking to little girls or little boys. You know you shouldn't be grooming them. And you know that from one of the people who do this, they should be getting arrested. They should be having time amongst their names or their image needs to be exposed. But people won't expose that side of them because they have meaning behind their image. And if that meaning becomes a truth that people never expected, their whole world will just shatter and they'll lose themselves in the process.
Women who get abortions
And
are
honestly, who gives a fuck?
murderers.
Yes. Does it's that simple. Yes, they're murderers. Yeah, like what?
It is God who gives and takes away life. Man, woman, has no place taking a life that they didn't breathe into. There is no going around that one, I think, for Christians. You
I ain't no Christian.
kill a baby that makes you a murderer.
Right.
This topic, so it gets emotional because I've just seen people go through that, and sorry, um, and they feel it in their soul and in their spirit that it was wrong, and they deal with that pain and that shame and regret. My husband himself, him and his sisters, they are all a product of rape. And I mean, that's my husband. So to imagine that, like, he wouldn't be here if his mother didn't decide to keep them and raise them, um, it's hard to think about.
Maybe it was not in a good experience. Maybe you were raped. Maybe you were a victim to something abusive. Maybe it wasn't planned. But let me tell you something, God, He's never early, never late. He's always on time. And the fact that you were given this gift of life, and if you can't handle it or you can't take care of it, there are options.
I'm just wondering then, what would you think of people who like stand outside of like abortion places and try to stop people?
It makes me so upset, like the people who just protest and try to shove and judge and condemn others. That is not love. That is not God. That is not how he would handle people. Jesus is very gentle, and he would not make them.
If Jesus was gentle, then people would not be aborting babies. That'd be the thing right there. I get the whole point of view of the love and critically thinking, but if Jesus Christ was gentle, child trafficking wouldn't be a thing. We wouldn't have to sit here and worry about paying rent every fucking month. We wouldn't have to be worrying about hospital bills or insurance or worrying about bills and taxes. We wouldn't have to worry about all these different things outside of ourselves. When it even comes within ourselves, we wouldn't have to worry about eating food or even drinking water just to maintain our survival instincts. These things will already be nurtured and nourished because this being is basically an infinite, all-loving entity or species, if it ever had a form. But because it doesn't, Jesus Christ cannot be gentle. You want this label to be gentle, but it's never been gentle to my people and including your people. I don't understand why people don't sit here and think as if Jesus Christ did not enslave all ethnic groups. And it's crazy to me how people think as if this being is gentle, but yet there are still babies getting aborted every single day. And that still is murder, yes. And I get that. Well, what if she was aiding this and that? And I understand that. I really understand that. That's why it is a tough question. And the thing is, too, I let the woman just do what she got to do. Cause it's like if you as a man, you ain't put in a situation, you don't really know how hard it is. Somebody will say, bro, just don't abort it. But that's not her child for real. Somebody forced that upon her because he couldn't save his nut. He had to get it all to where he took advantage of Shorty. He took advantage of this woman. Why would she keep it? And I can understand both perspectives. Like, you shouldn't have killed the baby. But damn, I see why you didn't kill the baby. I see why you did kill the baby. There's two different sides to that. And just know, like, that's why we've been forgiven. There was no point of Jesus Christ coming down to crucify itself. It makes no sense because immediately, once his being did that, sin never went away because people still went against their ways. Because our ways are not supposed to be physical. It was all spiritual. But that wouldn't be a part of the game if we all just did one programming just for the good of it. No.
Feel like they cannot come to the Father because they are in shame or not worthy.
I do want to address, I think there's a misunderstanding about what people do who stand out in front of abortion clinics. What they're doing is not abusing them, they're not attacking them, they're letting them know that there's options, telling them about crisis pregnancy centers, offering to adopt their children, explaining them what an abortion really is. They're doing really important work. And if we all believe that abortion is murder, and we all just said that we do, well, then what it is mass murder. It's genocide in the United States. It's worse than the Holocaust. And so I wouldn't want to throw stones at someone who's out in front.
Okay. Whoa. Don't throw in the Holocaust in there because now we're going through different Masonic theatrics that many people aren't even aware of. You just got to stay on that flow state of consciousness. Whatever you were going with, you had it, but don't sit here and start bringing in just confetti when the circus didn't even get done with the act yet. Gotta calm it down because that doesn't make any sense. And if you believe in the Holocaust, what a shame. Mm-mm-mm.
It's worse than the Holocaust. And so I wouldn't want to
You're basically saying abortion is a story that was worse than that story. And there are many people who claim the Holocaust is real, but all you're doing is just experiencing what you place your controlling or your controlled mind into being controlled by. Now, with abortion, that is somebody's story that's happening right now. You can go towards your local abort, and the thing is too, they have local abortion clinics by, I'm pretty sure all of us watching this video. So it's like these murders happening right across your street, right near your neighborhood. And that's exactly why the being had to forgive us because there are some people who just can't control their ways. They had to get off that way, not realizing that your actions do have not a consequence, but it can be a lesson. And if these people are killing their lessons, how will they ever learn? That's why going outside and protesting, not saying that you shouldn't be doing that, but don't be surprised when these people still walk into the clinic to go ahead and murder this child because you don't know what's been going on. And you can shame and condemn them all you want, but give them grace. Be open-minded. Yes, providing different options is the way to go, but some people don't want to take that, and we have to be okay with that. We really have to. Some people are okay with killing babies, and there are many people out there who have way more than like 5 abortions, for example. And some of them just don't care. But that's exactly why along this life, they will have a lesson that they have to start worrying about. Not saying worrying, but they have to learn from. Because you're not going into the next life and you don't sit here and think about what you did and to make your ways better. Especially if you were taken advantage of, that's a whole different story. But if you're just willingly doing it because you just can't control your desire for pleasing or getting pleased by somebody else, then that's on you. So you have to deal with whatever comes out of your synthetic womb.
owns as someone who's out in front of the concentration camp saying, "Don't murder Jews." I would want to go alongside that person and applaud that person for being courageous. And I think that's really important work that all Christians should support to help try to fight abortion in this country.
I have
I ain't gonna sit here and align Christians with that, but no, we really do need to stop abortions, but we also need to throw in all the people who are aping and molesting these women and men as well. Throw these motherfuckers in the pits. Like we had to get them off the streets. Because if not, I ain't gonna lie, if this woman did not expect a child and they ended up having one by somebody they don't even see a future with, I mean, come on, man. And then not only just that, the adoption clinics and that whole space, they're trafficking children as well. So what would be the point of giving birth to a child that you don't want, and then you hand them over to the abortion side of life, and then the abortion side of life, you don't know what other spell that they're going to do upon this kid. Why even do that? Why even think about that thought? Might as well just go and handle it yourself. But by doing what though? What's the righteous way when it's considered wrong by somebody else? And maybe by yourself. That's why do what you feel. Always be aware of your feelings and your intuition. It's happening and it's telling you a message for a reason.
had sex outside of marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Come on, man. Let's be real here. People can't sit here and act as if they have not had intercourse outside of marriage. Not only just that, what is marriage? How does a spiritual being get married to itself? When it's just falling in love with itself.
Sorry.
Okay.
Was doing it. I went on many cycles with that. Like I've had an orgy with females. I've had, you know, that one person you can just hit up anytime you want to and they're available. You know, at some point you have to stop avoiding a sin because God hates not sinners, but the sin because it comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'm now married.
It comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Who? There, no, 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 no. See, that'd be the thing right there.
Not sinners, but the sin because it comes to
God hates the sin, not the sinners. If you're going to hate the sin, you might as well hate what the sin is connected to. So does God hate himself? This is how these people be talking for real. If God is the creator, if their version of God is the creator of everything, you're all knowing, you're just this infinite presence. If that's the case, you know that what you made came to steal, kill, and destroy. If you're going to destroy what you created, then you aren't all loving because you're destroying and you're taking from yourself and you're killing yourself in the process. All because you hate what you made? Make your fucking mind up. Are you either a killer or are you a lover? Because you can't be both. So what are you going to be? So how can God hate what God makes? God makes up sin daily. So what is sin when everything that you do is a sin? Even talking, for example. We're saying words and we're supposed to go to hell for gossiping. But realistically, our whole entire life is about gossip. When you go to school, that's basically about gossip in any different topic, any different curriculum. It's about somebody else's opinion that was placed into a teaching. So if that's the case, what's the point of talking in general if we're going to have to do it? Not only just that, we think about it. And if we have other things before God, let's say you're a child and your parents have this graven image of a cross or Jesus Christ. Does that child go to hell for being in that household or that temple that has a Christmas tree and that has this and that? Celebrating pagan holidays, does that child go to hell for that? Come on, man. Like, we can't sit here and blame God for everything. God does not hate sin. If that's the case, Satan loves it. And if God is Satan, I wonder what Satan really hates if God loves and hates the exact same thing that Satan does.
Steal, kill, and destroy. I'm now married, and my husband abstained till marriage, and he has had to deal with the repercussions of my sin in the past.
Yeah, I wasn't saved until I was 20. And before that time, I did have sex outside of marriage. And even when I was first becoming Christian, I would hear people say, oh, you can't have sex outside of marriage. And I said, okay, well, I'll do everything else, but I won't do that one thing because that's a really hard thing to give up.
You know, when you have sex with somebody, it's really hard to move on from that. You start feeling all types of things with yourself. And it's just remembering that God doesn't say this to be mean or to be a dictator, but to protect you.
Yeah, if I can add to that, to be completely honest with you, I'm scared of sex. I had a very traumatic experience when I was younger where I have had family members um, intend to take advantage of me. And because of that traumatic experience, I just have had that fear to be enclosed with just one man in a room. Even though I have not lost my virginity, pornography has been something that has been rampant in my life. And that sexual sin as well is truly in my spiritual experience has been almost equal. Going wrong against God, going wrong against self, that brings so much shame, so much guilt. But when the forgiveness comes, we see the true glory of God because we see how broken we were and how reformed we are through Christ.
And that's really interesting because I feel as if you're going to abstain, if you're going to touch yourself or please yourself, it's not necessarily a bad thing to do. I don't really condone. I say really condone because I mean I can't sit here and say I didn't used to do these things in my past when I was younger. But growing up, it is just weird. It's just weird spiritually because what's the point when it's just the same exact addiction? So it's really like playing 2K or drinking water or using the bathroom. After a while, it just gets repetitive. It's just, oh, okay, I gotta use the bathroom today. Okay, gotta drink water today. Gotta stay hydrated. So with these things, once you really abstain, you don't have to wait till marriage because what's the point of getting married when your partner can still leave you whenever they choose to? And then whenever your partner does leave, let's just say from natural causes of death or whatever, I mean, what, you're just gonna be tied down to this person even though physically they're not really here? Not saying that you don't have to talk to anybody or you should, but you really got to ask yourself, do you want to just be alone for the rest of your life? And having sex, if it's far as if it's connected towards alchemy, that would be the healthiest thing because you're not just doing it for one partner. Not really just that, get to know somebody before you do the act because that's when you'll be able to transcend the desire or just the lower mind of the temple because the temple will be inverted. But once you move without the act of what sex is, then you go into the alchemical process of having a better feeling that can make sex question how it wants to please itself.
Anyone who isn't Christian is going to hell.
Disagree. No, if somebody agrees, I'm alive. That shit's crazy.
For me, this one's a pretty easy one. John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If we're Christians, when we say we believe in the Bible, either we believe what Jesus said or we don't.
We don't. Jesus Christ never said anything. And if Jesus Christ is talking, that's already Satan telling you what you wanted to hear, what you expected to hear. And that'd be the thing right there. People can't really sit here and decipher in gematria or even just in common sense in general, do occultism. People can't understand how tricknology and linguistic sorcery have became a an acceptance that people found meaning in. People found so much meaning in his word that they can't let go of it. And they think as if Jesus Christ told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one will go through me except, through my Father, whatever the hell. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Because you basically saying you're the mediator into getting into heaven. Why the fuck, who put you in charge to tell us where we can and can't go into the afterlife when we're already there? So we don't have to go through a label. If that's the case, this label isn't even there. If you're talking, then you can't even be in heaven. So what's the point of you even talking if you're not even in heaven for real? Because beings who are non-angelic, when they're in this realm of higher realms, there's no point to talk. It holds no meaning. It's a dense consciousness. So it'll be beneath them to even want to say anything out loud because that takes too much energy. So for them to hold on to that truth, what do? They move in silence. So how the fuck can Jesus Christ say anything for you to believe in for today? That makes no fucking sense to Jesus Christ as well because Jesus Christ would basically ask, what did I tell people? Exactly. You were speaking in parables and niggas still can't comprehend your contradictions. And these are all Masonic contradictions that people still haven't found purpose in.
For Christians, when we say we believe in the Bible, either we believe what Jesus said or we don't. Yeah, it's a tough sentence to answer.
It's not.
And to be honest, I suppose I can't just flatly say yes or no. So it's tough. But with that being said, what does Christian really mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It means
Like,
Cretan. It means Cretan.
no, because everybody uses the word Christian now, right? I believe there's Christians who aren't going to go to heaven.
What about people who subscribe to say Judaism or Islam?
It goes back to the Bible. It says that to go to heaven, you have to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. And there's a lot of people who don't identify as Christians.
That doesn't make any sense because you do that, you're disobeying a commandment. But y'all just basically stated and noted that we have to follow these commandments as Christians. So how are you a Christian and you don't even think about the hypocrisy that you're practicing?
That Jesus Christ, that to go to heaven, you have to confess with your mouth.
To go to heaven, you had to open up a portal that's going to let out a bunch of lies that we think make sense. That doesn't get you to heaven. You don't confess with your mouth. That's how I know you're not moving in love. Only a satanic being will say you need to confess with your mouth. For one, you should have said you should confess with your heart by already knowing that you're inside of what heaven's temple is being currently in the moment. That's where you vibrate at.
Out and believe in your heart that Christ.
So believing that Jesus Christ is Lord, you're going against yourself. You are telling yourself, I am not the God that I thought I was. Knowing that spiritually, you know who you are being, and you don't have to call yourself God, because what is God being? That's the thing. You don't even finish that sentence or that statement or that thought. What is God being? If you finish it, you're talking about yourself. What is God being? Therefore, confessing this does not get you into heaven. Because the moment you do that, you are stuck in hell because that is your memory. You think as if this memorization will get you into ascension. Whole entire time, you're telling yourself to believe in a title and you're calling this title the Lord. That is going to keep you in stagnation on an infinite loop to where you'll always come back to prophesizing this exact same Savior that will never come and save your ass from saving yourself out of this dimension or this crab in a bucket mentality.
That Jesus Christ is Lord. And there's a lot of people who don't identify as Christians who believe that. What if there's a Satanist on his deathbed? At that moment, they confess with their mouth and they believe in their heart. Like, they didn't live their whole lives being Christian. Are they going to go to hell? I don't believe that. So I think to say that if you're not Christian, you're going to go to hell, it's kind of an absolute that drives more people away from Christianity than brings them in.
I'm thinking of babies that have died, and I don't think that they would go to hell because they didn't even know how to make a sound.
And God gives us a choice whether we want to spend eternity with him, whether we don't. And
There is no or we don't. You're spending eternity with this being anyways. I don't think people understand how powerful this force of nature is. It's everywhere. And I'm basically saying that because over here, we're just always in tune. A lot of times being off the internet, it feels great because it's nice to sit in silence, playing music, doing your homework, just coming up with content, just doing things for you. Being able to go outside and just walk out in nature, just breathe. These things help you connect with that being. That's the best feeling ever. So the fact to sit here and say we have a choice to spend eternity with this being or we don't, that doesn't make any sense because even if you don't choose to spend eternity with God, you're always going to be connected in eternity, eternally with this being, even if you don't want to call it God. You can't go away from yourself. You're going to always be watching yourself around a watcher that was going to watch itself be you.
that's a free will choice that he gives to all of us. We all have to accept that we all are sinners.
You are a sinner. We don't sin. And in our realm, we don't know what sin is. Sorry. Everything we do is with a purpose. We don't have time to find meaning in this dimension. There is none. We are creative entities that know where we come from. We don't know what sin is. That's for you. Human beings believe in sin. Spiritual deities with no name, we don't even have to classify rank anymore. Guardians understand, or I just did it. Guardians understand there is no sin. We make it up. That's the game that people want to fall in love with. We don't have to play the same exact game. You're playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm playing 2K26. You're playing Call of Duty, Black Ops 7 beta, and I may want to play Battlefield. You're playing Fortnite, I may want to play Apex. Who knows? Like, we're not in the same dimension, man.
And the wages of sin is death. The wages of sin
If the wages of sin is death, then we're already dead. And if we're already dead, how can we be allowed to say what sin is?
is separation from God.
You can't be separated from God. You saying that is basically saying your actions will separate you from your higher self. And you call that sin because you're ashamed of what you're doing in secrecy. Be truthful in your nature. If you know that you're doing wrong and you continue doing it, you're getting away from yourself. But the beings who know their nature, they control it and they do things to please their spirit in their nature, they are still separated from God. So what's the difference?
I've heard people
We sin against ourselves the moment we say our first sound or the moment we even come into the body or we even come to this world. So what the fuck is sin? What's the point of even mentioning it when we're all going to still exist in that naming? Stop name calling your dream. You are sinning every day. Stop blaming that curse on us. Niggas who say that shit, they are cursed by their own sins. We don't relate. And I'm saying we because our community, we don't believe in that fallacy. Even though we have the same exact human experience, we don't believe in the same exact illusions, man.
who didn't even know the Bible and had near-death experiences where they actually went and visited hell the way that it was described in the Bible.
I'm scared of dying.
If anybody's describing what hell looks like according to the Bible, they are lying to themselves about dreams that they are making up. And because these people have paid testimonies, these testimonies are what you think makes sense because they had a lot of views or likes. But once you know the algorithm and how people work, you shouldn't be fooled by people that talk about what they only thought about experiencing. They never put themselves in that reality because it never happened. I'm scared of dying? Fuck no. I'm dead right now making this video.
To die is gain. That's my father's favorite verse. We are gaining eternal life. We are gaining
You don't gain it, you're already in it. You are being eternal in a new life.
new faith,
You don't gain a new faith, you have the same exact faith.
gaining a new body. We are
You are in a new body. You don't gain anything, you already have everything.
gaining everything on that.
We already have it. Everything we want is already here. What's the point of asking for it every single day? Just remember who you are, what you have, and what you want. When you ask yourself, you will find out how to get there, but you can't just sit there and not learn how to get to it.
Being here doesn't have its joys, but to be with him, obviously, is
That's, I always say I can't wait to die. My mom hates it. I always saying it's like, God, take me now, not suicidal. I know, what do you like? No, my sister now. Yeah, we're always like, God, just come take us. Like, we don't want to be here anymore. I look forward to the day where I see the saints gather worshiping Christ and I can cry about it. It is going to be so surreal and so beautiful, and death is just the way to get there.
Do y'all even know how to get there? People always want to talk about death, but there's still a lesson in that knowing. There's a lesson in death that people need to learn because if you don't learn how to get over that bridge, who gonna save you? Because it ain't gonna be nobody but you. So people can sit there and wait on a savior or wait for this day to happen, but whole entire time, that shit's happening right now. People are not realizing that though. Death is happening right now, and people still don't take life seriously with passion, with consideration, moving in empathy, being righteous with every action that you do, moving with honesty, telling yourself what you should be doing with accountability, having confidence in what you do, being able to make a mistake and learn from that, being able to laugh, being able to witness these things. It's how you're able to understand that this whole entire dream is a memory that you'll replay when it's time for you to go into the afterlife. That's why every memory you have, it better be something worth watching, or you will, that last tear that you shed will be like a fuck, I should have did this, but you didn't.
Fear losing my non-believer friends and family.
I fear losing my non-believer friends and family. No, honestly, no. I don't want my friends or family to believe in anything that I do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't believe in a God. So if you believe in a God, no, and if I was to lose them, I wouldn't fear that. And when it's gonna be their time anyway, just like my time.
It would be the greatest pain to go to heaven and not see your siblings there.
I mean, my dad isn't saved, and half my family are Catholic. And I can't imagine a more miserable place than away from the perfect creator of all things.
In John 6, Jesus says that of all those that the Father has given me, I will not lose one. And so God is faithful and just, and I trust God that he will save all of his people. I do pray for my loved ones who are unbelievers. I share the gospel with them, but ultimately I know it doesn't depend on me. Salvation is in his hands. So it's not for me to fear or worry. In the Bible, it says that it's God's will for everyone to be saved. But at the same time, the truth is that not everyone will. When I was an unbeliever, I would always wonder, why are Christians always wanting to shove their beliefs down my throat? We know what the Bible says, that people will go to hell. And if we don't tell people about it, that blood is almost on our hands. And I do fear that there will be people that I know and love who won't ever come to God, but I know that there is still hope for them.
We'll have you put your masks back on.
I can't feel no way. I mean, that's how he feel. But stop hoping. These people have to just understand what God is. Literally, God is just a relationship you have with your silence. You have to sit with yourself, sit with your thoughts, learn about yourself, learn about what you like, learn about what you don't like, learn about you. When you go through things, learn about how to react. Don't react to everything. Observe without judgment. Whoa. Overall, not a bad video, right? I mean, I really enjoyed that nonetheless. And, we really want to move with these videos in love. And, I really appreciate you all for being patient. Thank you all for just bearing with me. It's very tiring just to continue to keep doing what we're doing, but we won't stop because these messages got to get pushed out. They have to get talked about because there are some people who are still lost, and there are some people who have to go against what we know, even though we don't know anything. That's why all we're doing every day is constantly learning how to become better. And no matter how tired you are, no matter what you're going through, you have to constantly work, constantly see the better. And when you're working towards the better, then the better works towards you in the way that you would want it to work for you when you want to chill, when you want to find your peace, when you want to go to that bayside, the beach area, mountaintop area, whatever. You just want to be relaxed and calm. All these moments that you've been working on wouldn't be for nothing when you get to that moment. Because that moment right there is that sweet feeling you get every time you remind yourself of all those nights you said, I could have been in bed, but I got up and made a video. I got up and did this, I got up and did that. And yeah, it sucked, I hated it. But damn, I love what I gained from what I never gave up on. Have a great and divine day, Divine Reflection. I appreciate you all. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this. Nigga, I don't want the news, my nigga.